Nice medal. It's like black. I love it. One of my best races, I would say. I think not only my performance, but just everything about it, from like the weather to the atmosphere to the people who were there to just everything. It was just perfect. And I'm going to do a bit of a race review, hopefully for anyone watching who's maybe doing it in future years. This can help you a little bit, just understand the course a little bit, and just give my review on a race that I absolutely love. Like, Mallorca is it is probably my favourite place in the world. I absolutely love it. Like, as a kid we used to go there every year. I learned to swim out in Mallorca. Like, we've got family out there. It just feels like a second home for me. It's a special place for me, and so to be able to race there, share race day with so many incredible people, it just was amazing. The weather, like, this year was just perfect. So I was out there for 3 weeks leading up to the race. So I did camp in the first week, and then my parents have a place out there which unfortunately they're selling, which now I'm gutted about, because like, it was just the perfect place to go and prep for this race. So I did a week on camp, a week and a half at my parents' place, and then we went over to Alcudia obviously to race. So that was perfect in terms of like acclimatization, is that the right word? I think I was just a bit more used to the heat, which is ideal. That's exactly what you want, because a lot of people were saying how hot it was on the run and how it really affected them, and I sort of didn't find the run that hot. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was hot, but it wasn't like when I did the race 2 years ago. Like, it was so hot that really impacted my run. So I can understand why, you know, those people who maybe flew out on the Thursday and raced on the Saturday, how it would have been, you know, a bit of a shock to the system, because it was about, I want to say 25, 26 degrees, I think, when you were out on the run. Weather was perfect. It was really still. There was practically no wind. There was a bit on the bike, obviously coming back in, there's always a bit of wind as you're sort of cycling back. It wasn't a windy day, so that was perfect as well, which is super helpful. Race day morning, you know what, it was a nice leisurely start, because the pros went off at like 7:35 and 7:40 or something like that, and then the age groupers, started a rolling start from 7:55, so I got in the water around 8. So some races, I mean, when I did my Ironman, I think it was like a 6:30 start or something. I know that like the outlaw events, it's like a 6 o'clock start, so it, you know, in comparison, pretty leisurely start. A hotel put breakfast on for us at like 4:30, so perfect. So yeah, pretty leisurely start, to be honest. We'd obviously racked our stuff the day before. Went down to the swim start. Well, they were getting everyone out of the water for the swim warm up when we got down there, so I didn't time that too well, and in hindsight maybe would have gone down a little bit before just to get a bit of swim warm up in, but it's what it is. What I did was on the beach just tried to move around a little bit, move my arms, jumping around, just to get my heart rate up. But the swim was great. As I said, I think they started at like 7:55. I was in the water for about 8 o'clock, I think, so I was in pretty quickly, which was great. Obviously, Mallorca 70.3, I think it's the biggest 70.3 in the world. I wanted to say Europe, I think it is the world. I mean, there was 3,800 athletes registered. A lot of people. Transition from the water to get out to bike out after you've run up from the water, run all the way through transition, was over 700 meters. So it's a big old transition. So that's just something to keep in mind. Transition times are going to be longer than maybe a smaller triathlon, but you know, everyone's in the same boat. My swim, I had a really great swim, so I put myself in the 25-minute pen. I knew I was going to go quicker than 30. I wasn't going to go quite 25, so I kind of put myself in the middle of the 25 pen, which I think was perfectly placed. I managed a 28:30 swim, so that I think I seeded myself pretty perfectly. The annoying thing about it is what it is, but like the annoying thing is that people don't seed themselves properly, and like, I don't want to be sexist, but it's always the men. Sorry men, but it is, and maybe because there's like, obviously there's less women who do these events, but it's always the men who, you know, fair enough if you want to put yourself in a pen slightly higher. I think that, you know, what most people do is you aim to try and get pulled along a little bit. So I knew I was going to be around the 30-minute, but I knew it wasn't going to be 25. So putting myself in that 25-minute pen, I was going to get pulled along a little bit with people in that pen. But if you're a 45-minute swimmer and you're putting yourself in the 25-minute pen, don't do that. Don't do that, because it's not only you that probably won't have the best time because you're going to get swum over, but the people around you as well. If you're swimming and swinging your arms, or I don't know, just getting in the way. But anyway, that's just racing triathlon. Like, that is what it is, and you know, it can't be helped. I appreciate people want to get in the water to get out on the bike quickly. They might be a stronger cyclist, so they might want to sort of get out with the fast cyclist. I get it, but that can just be a bit annoying. Really happy with that time. Last time I did it, I did a 29:30, so a minute faster in my swim, which I will take, you know, across that distance. Improving by a minute is all right. The sea was as calm as anything. It's nice and clear. There's about, I think it's 9 buoys on the way out. You take a right turn to a buoy, and then it's 9 buoys on the way back in. Super clear. As you're swimming out, the sun is rising on your left hand side, so if you don't want to be constantly looking at the sun, learn to breathe both sides. Polarized goggles are a must. And yeah, it's always a beautiful swim, well, when it's calm, and it was calm. So yeah, coming out of the water, as I said, it's an uphill run up the beach into transition, and from the water right to when you've taken your bike and gone out is about 750 meters. Transition all went well. Did my usual wee in my wetsuit. You've got to wee in your wetsuit before you go out. That's always my tactic, is because sometimes it's hard to wee whilst you're swimming. There's a lot to think about. I get to transition, this is my trick, I get to transition, as I'm there putting my helmet on, just weeing in my wetsuit, because it's easier to wee standing up than it is when you're swimming on your front. That, shoes on, everything was, yeah, everything went quite smoothly in transition, apart from, again, I need to practice where my pockets are in my tri-suit, because I couldn't find them again. And then I remember just being stood there trying to find it. I was like, well, at least do this whilst you're running, Laura, but I just didn't switch on. So anyway, could have been a bit quicker in transition, but it's one of those things. What I also did was, because I don't have my shoes on my bike, they were in my transition bag. I've not mastered putting my shoes on my bike, I've not tried it. But I ran with my shoes in my hand, because my bike was, you know, a good 500 meters away or whatever, so I didn't want to be running the whole way in cleats. Much quicker to run barefoot, put your shoes on when you get your bike, and then run with it. So that was that. And then obviously getting out on the bike, the first 15k is nice and flat, beautiful flat, from Alcudia all the way over to like Poyenza. That's what I was going to say. I was on my new TT bike that you will have seen either in this vlog or the one before. So I ordered a new TT bike that got delivered 4 days before the race, and I had my road bike out there with me with the clip-on TT bars, and it just felt like, you know, I've got that bike there, I should probably race on it. And I rode it the day before, 2 days before, literally for about 15 minutes. I did about 5-10k on it, just to spin my legs on it, really. I haven't done a decent ride on it. I've not ascended, not descended, not had a bike fit, not done any time in the TT position on that bike. It was a completely new bike, and I was like, you know what, it's a risk. It was a really big risk, because a TT bike is only good if you're able to hold that position well. If you can't hold that position well, and you're constantly sitting up, and it's not comfortable, or you know, you have back pain or leg pain, and that impacts on you on the run, it's probably not a wise thing to just jump on a TT bike. I knew I'd done a lot of sort of practice in that position on my watt bike through the winter, a little bit on my road bike, but not very much. So it was a completely different position, completely different bike. I didn't have my tubeless tires. There was tubes in there, so there was the slight or big worry of, if I got a puncture, could I change it? There were new tyres, so would they be really stiff to get off? There was lots of things going through my mind, which made me really anxious for the bike ride. My coach was like, you know, how often do you get a puncture though? And I was like, no, that's true. And it is true, you don't get a puncture all that often, but that's just, I guess, everyone's worry of when you're out on the bike course. If you did get a puncture, you know, if you've got tubeless, you hope it seals. If you don't have tubeless, do you change it? Have you practiced enough changing it? Are you able to get your tyre off? And all of those different things. There's just a lot that goes into it. 0 to 15k, I think I averaged near like 38-39 kilometers an hour, which absolutely flying, like, but the best thing was it felt like zero effort. What I tried to do was, because my heart rate is always super high after the swim coming out of transition, I try just to relax into it and try not to go all guns blazing, because that's often a mistake with the adrenaline and everything. You feel amazing, you go, and then you absolutely bonk like halfway round. So I was going, you know, 38 plus kilometers an hour without putting much effort in, which felt nice, which felt very nice. I won't lie. It always feels like though I'm going slow, because whenever I get out the water, it's with some of like the faster men who are really fast on the bikes. They're all zooming past me and it makes me feel like I'm going slow, but race your own race. I was going fast for me. We get to the climb. So how I sort of picture it in my head, the climb. So when you've turned left, it's not the roundabout with the aeroplane on it, it's the next roundabout up. You get onto that road, and on the right hand side are the kilometre markers, starting from 0. The one at the bottom is 0, the one at the top where the garage is and where the descent starts is 21. So 0 to 21 is the climb. It's not constant climbing for 21k. So from 0 to 7, 6.5, 7 is like a gradual uphill, maybe a false flat, but it's a gradual uphill from 0 to well, you hit an aid station, then you've got another couple of k, you get to about the 7k marker on your right hand side. That's where the climb starts. So then you're climbing for about 7.5k until you hit the 14k marker on your right hand side, and then there's a couple of, you know, nice descents into a bit of a hill, another nice descent bit into a hill. So it's a bit rolling from 14 to 19, and then 19 to 21 is the last climb up to the garage at the top where you come down to the descent. So I kind of broke it down in my head like that. So climb was fine. My back was sore on the climb because obviously new bike, new position. When you're on the, obviously I'm not on the TT bars, I'm just on the handlebars, which are a hell of a lot lower on my new bike than on my road bike. So my positioning, I was a lot more further forward, so my back did hurt quite a lot on that climb. I was really grateful for when we got to the descent, like my back was quite sore. That was all fine. I mean, you know, you're not gonna win it on the climb. I didn't take it easy, but I didn't push myself overly hard on the climb because I knew I could make up some time on the descent and on the flats as well. So yeah, got to the descent. Obviously being on a brand new bike, on a TT bike, trying to descend on a TT bike anyway, I think is pretty challenging. On a TT bike you've never ridden before, and I'm not a nervous descender. I'm not a great descender, I'm not an awful descender, I'm kind of just somewhere in the middle. So I was going slow, and I did find myself just getting out of the way, people flying past me. I moved out their way because I was just like, I'll just take the descent at my own pace, especially on a new bike. So I probably could have done that quicker, a couple of minutes quicker. Descent was good, all fine. And then there's a few little climbs after the descent, a few short hills, but it's pretty much nice and fast and flat on the way back. Loads of drafting going on by people, and that's just, I guess, obviously they want it to be this big incredible event, which it was. The atmosphere was amazing, but then entering, you know, 3,000 people onto a course, onto a 90k course, you're bound to have pelotons of people, and you just have these big pelotons of people just flying past you. And at one point this big group, must have been about 10-12 people, about 30 meters ahead of me, all just riding together, and then the umpire on the back of the motorbike went past me, sat next to them, and I feel like they just didn't know who to give a penalty to, so just left them all to it. I was like, oh, is that what we're doing? So I guess it's one of those things. How can they police it? Do they penalise everyone? That's, yeah, I guess that's just Ironman and wanting to make as much money from these events as they possibly can. Came off my bike and my legs felt fresh. My legs felt really good. I did the same again, hung up my bike, took my shoes off and ran with them back to my transition bags a bit quicker through transition. Also another thing, do I say this on here? Don't know, well, I suppose people will relate to this. Going to the toilet during a race. Now, I don't know what guys do. Guys were saying it's harder as a guy going for a wee on the bike because you have to like take your tri-suit down a little bit. I don't know, can you not wee through your wetsuit? I don't know. Anyway, I managed to have a wee when I was cycling, which is great, and then I didn't have to stop in transition. But something I was speaking to some of the girls about afterwards was that if you did want to go for a wee in transition, what I would probably do is not take your tri-suit off and just wee through your tri-suit, because like you're covered in sweat and salt anyway, like, and then you're going to be washing yourself down with water on every aid station, and it just that whole trying to get your tri-suit back on, it's just an absolute nightmare. So I feel like if you did want a bit of privacy and not weeing on your bike, even if you went to the toilet, you can just wee through your wetsuit. Like, the glamorous life of triathlon, it's awful. But anyway, managed to wee on my bike, which was great because that saved me quite a bit of time in transition. I remember 2 years ago I went into the loo and then did the whole struggle with trying to get my tri-suit off. I ripped my number, so my number was flapping around on the run. It was all a bit of a nightmare. Transition, changed into my run stuff, all nice and quick. I got cramp in my calf as I was putting my trainer on, so I took it off, sort of gave myself a minute and then went again. Oh, managed a 2:51 on the bike. So 2 years ago I did I think it was 3:18 or 3:14. Anyway, a good 25 minutes faster this year than 2 years ago, which for me was like the biggest win of all. If I can make up that much time on the bike, and that's where I know I can still save more time. I know I've got a lot of work to do on the bike still, but to be able to knock that chunk of time off over the past 2 years was like just a huge win. I was hoping for just to squeeze sub 3. If I did like 2:59, I would have been made up with that, but to come in at 2:51 on a bike I've never ridden before that isn't fitted to me is like, I'm proud of myself for that. I will say that, I'm proud of myself for that. Transition, shoes on, fine. I'd put my gels in a sandwich bag, I'd put my sweets in a sandwich bag, and I'd put my electrolyte chewable tabs in a sandwich bag. So I got my sandwich bags out and I ran, and I was like trying to put them in my pockets whilst I was running. So got my gels out, put them in my pocket, and then put my sweets down my sports bra. And I had my electrolyte tabs and then an empty sandwich bag. So I was running through the first, in my head I was like, I'll go through the first aid station, throw the plastic bag in like the littering zone, get some water and everything. So I was running, gonna go grab a water, threw the wrong bag. I threw my electrolyte tabs on the floor and ran. I was like, shit, wrong bag. Then ran back, and this girl was like, do you want some water? What do you want? I was like, no, my tablets are on the floor. So I was scurrying around for them, picked that up. I was glad I found them. Through every aid station, so there's 4 aid stations per lap. It's a 3-lap course, 7k per lap. Was there 4 aid stations? Was there 3? 3 or 4, one of them, anyway, loads. Every like 2.5 to 3k is an aid station. So every aid station, I'd grab 2 cups of water, I'd throw a bit in my mouth, throw the rest over my head, a bit in my mouth, throw the rest over my body, just to really cool myself down. Because as I said, as you got onto the run, it was like 25, 26 degrees, it was hot, and you don't want to overheat. So every moment possible, pouring water on myself. And then I had a gel at 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. I struggled to have the whole one at an hour, and then I kind of just sort of nursed that last one I was gonna have another one at 120, but I couldn't really face it. So I having a couple of sweets, but I couldn't really face that last gel. And on the bike I had 2 Morton of the 225 bars. I had a Morton 160 gel and 2 SIS gels, and another actually half of a Morton bar as well. I had 750 ml of electrolytes, had a 500 ml hydration bag in my hydration system on my bike, and then I took another electrolyte drink, 750 ml, which had about maybe 200 of that because it wasn't very nice. So probably didn't hydrate enough on the bike, to be fair, but anyway, one of those things. I will get better at that. So yeah, the run felt really good. I really struggled mentally, I think, with the run. I just kept telling myself, I was like, next kilometre, you're gonna drop off pace, you're gonna drop off pace. And that negative self-talk, I was really trying to battle with my head on the run this time. I wanted to hold between like a 4:25 and a 4:35. I ideally wanted a 4:30 per kilometre, wanted like a 1:34 run. Because I'd convinced myself that in Lati, when I did Lati last year, that I did it at 1:34. So in my head I was like, I need to get that same time again. Turns out I did a 1:37 in Lati. So I was aiming for a pace that was faster than I had back then. I hadn't realised. So anyway, wanted to hold a 4:30 or below pace, and I did. Every kilometre sort of ticked over between like 4:22 to 4:32, 4:35. There was 2 kilometres which were like 4:37 and 4:39, around 16, 17k. I think we all tend to drop off around that time. But I'd sort of made up enough time on the other kilometres to average out at 4:29 per kilometre. So I got 1:34 half marathon, which I am absolutely made up with, because yeah, in the past I've got a 1:30 set off the bike, I've got a 1:37, a 1:40, a 1:44 and a 1:45 over the past 70.3s that I've done. So to come out with the best run result on probably one of the hottest days. Not my fastest bike across that distance, because I've done flatter courses and done faster bikes, but for that like hilly course, to get that sort of time on the bike, so a big PB there, and my fastest ever swim as well. So 3 big performances, which I'm really proud of myself for. I'm still not quite over it, to be honest. And I just, yeah, absolutely soaked up the atmosphere on the finish line. It was, yeah, it's always just electric, like the support, especially when you turn onto the beach and there's a 2K stretch along the beach, and then you either turn right to go to the finish line or you turn left to do your next lap. That support down that beach, everyone's out drinking and sitting in the sun on the beach, like the atmosphere is just amazing. So that always was a faster couple of K, because you've got the people supporting you there. There's a time on the run as well, because obviously it was a pro race, so that was cool in its own right. And there was one, I was on my first lap, probably about 3K in maybe, and I heard someone shout, "Go Laura!" So I was like running, I was like, thanks. So the cameraman came past me and was like this, so I was like waving at the camera, and then Laura Phillip, the like professional triathlete, came flying past me. I was like, oh, you meant that, Laura, not me. So she came flying past, and then Emma Pallant-Brown, that's when I think they were on their last lap, and Emma Pallant-Brown made the pass on Laura at that point. So it was really cool to see that happen, to see how fast Emma was running, and Laura as well. They're both running really fast. So I tried to pick up my pace a little bit, just to like be sat behind Laura for like 10 seconds. It didn't last. So that was cool to like be racing in the same race as some of the pros. Like that's really special. So that was fun. Overall time was 5 hours, 4 minutes and 27 seconds. 2 years ago, I got 5 hours, 43 minutes and like 50 seconds. So it was around a 40-minute improvement on 2 years ago, which absolutely blows my mind. I was hoping to improve by like 20 minutes. So to go 5:04, I hadn't even in my mind. One of my friends had said to me, like, I'm rooting for you to go 5:10, and I was like, oh god, no, that's a push. Like, you know, maybe I could squeeze near 5:15, but to go 5:04, it's just amazing. I came 9th in my age group out of, I think, about 90 girls, about 89 girls or something in my age group. 9th overall. It's such a strong age group. It's like some of those girls, absolutely unreal. I was only, so top 3, 3rd place was at 4:51, so what's that, 13 minutes behind her. So I think I can find about 10 minutes on that bike course. I could find a minute in transition easily on both transitions. So just a few things in certain areas that could save me some time, but it all just comes down to experience and just practicing those things. But I definitely think, obviously, like dialing in my TT position, I'm getting a bike fit next week. And as well, just confidence when you're riding a new bike. Anytime there was a bit of a corner I couldn't see around it, I'd sit up. I wouldn't be on my bars and like ride around it. So I think knowledge of the route and just having that confidence to stay in that position, you could save a hell of a lot of time. So I know there are areas that I could save some time and push up nearer those top girls in my age group. 20th female overall out of, I think there's about 480 females in this race, about 300th like overall men and women. And yeah, I think the best thing as well, obviously my mum was there, my auntie Rebecca, who'd flown in from America, was there watching. Obviously Gaz was there as well, so being able to race on the same course as Gaz was really special. We've never raced a triathlon together, so I really enjoyed that, even though we didn't see each other. He came in 5:18, so he absolutely nailed it. He's not done a triathlon in about 6 years. He swam about twice leading up to this. Obviously he's got amazing fitness. He's been doing a lot of running, lots of cycling, so just generally he's really strong. But for his first 70.3 in a long time, to come in at 5:18 is incredible. So it was nice to wait for him at the end. And then obviously the most important thing was 2 of my athletes were racing as well. So Sakura and Abby, who I've coached leading up into this race, both doing the event, both absolutely loved it, both had an amazing day and both smashed it. So I was so proud of them, and I think that was the most special thing for me, being out there on the course, knowing that they were also doing it, and then finishing and then going and supporting them and running a little bit with them, and it just felt super special. And yeah, I loved it that much that I have already signed up for next year. Gaz and I have signed up. Obviously it's much cheaper to sign up on the day. The prices go up. If you've ever done an Ironman event, you know that the prices get extortionate. So on the day it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than it would be. So we both signed up to next year, just tie it in with a bit of a holiday, and I can obviously work from there, which is really fortunate too. So that's the plan for next year, and I'm going to try and get as many of my athletes doing it as possible, because doing it as a group I think is super special, and yeah, being able to share the course with people that you care about is just the best thing. So I think that covers everything. What I would say, this is just a really random thing, when we were in transition in the morning doing our tyres, we took a pump with us, and we must have had like 10 people coming up to us and saying, can we use your pump? Which obviously I want to say yes to everyone, and we were like, yes, you can use it while I'm doing this, yes, you can use it, I'm just filling my hydration up. But they get to a point where it's like, right, I need my pump back because I need to leave transition and I need to go to the loo or go to the swim. So if you're racing, I mean, I personally always want to be self-sufficient. I don't want to have to rely on Ironman's pumps or someone else. I want to have everything on my person. So if you can, take your own pump. You're not allowed to leave it in transition. Obviously you'll have to give it to a spectator or put it in your streetwear bag, but take your own pump, because you don't want to have to rely on other people and you're running around transition panicking, can I borrow your pump? I mean, I need to pump up my tyres, etc. So take your own pump, put your nutrition and your hydration on your bike the morning of, don't put it the night before. Obviously always go and like check over your bike and make sure you're in a gear that when you get on your bike you can start pedaling at a nice pace. Sandwich bags, I feel, are your best friend in terms of like having everything in a sandwich bag, that when you go to transition to get stuff out of your transition bag, it's a one grab rather than oh, there's a gel, there's a bar, there's a tablet. Have it all in one bag. Made it super easy. And I probably should get some elastic laces, to be honest. And yeah, I think that is everything. I've been rabbiting on for a very long time now, so I'll leave you to it. Yeah, just keep working and just being consistent. And I think the final point is, someone asked me when they were sort of saying, you know, really impressed with your time, that's amazing, have you been hitting big numbers recently? And I was like, you know what, no, I don't think I have. I don't think I've hit anything like out of this world. I've not hit a new FTP, I've not done a 10k, 5k half marathon PB or anything like that recently, but what I have been is I've been consistent. I have shown up consistently for the past 2 years. You know, there was the odd week when I was ill, or the odd week where I had a recovery week, whatever, but I have been consistent and shown up consistently for the past 2+ years, and that's where the progress is made. Ultimately, that's where it is. So if you can be anything, be consistent, keep showing up, and obviously main thing is just enjoy it, because there's nothing quite like that race day atmosphere. And if I could bottle up that feeling of coming down that red carpet at the end, I would, and I'd sell it to everyone to pick them all up, because it's just the best feeling. So anyway, keep working hard, keep smashing it. Drop me a follow on here, follow me on Instagram, follow along for the journey. If you did Mallorca 70.3, let me know how you got on in the comments. If you're doing Mallorca 70.3 and you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.